Hi, this is Cengiz from Geekade here at PAX East. We're with Frostkeep Studios, and we're talking about Rend with Jeremy. So, Jeremy, can you just give me like a brief overview of what Rend is?
Yeah, Rend is a faction-based survival game where three factions are vying together to race to the finish and actually win or lose a game.
So, what separates Rend from other survival games, would you say?
The biggest difference you notice right off the bat is you log in a friendly place where you have friends all around you, no matter if you're playing alone or not, in a protected place. There's a shield protecting you, keeping you from being murdered in your first 5 minutes in the game. So you kind of get a chance to get your feet under you and kind of build a spot for yourself before the world really gets super dangerous.
I mean, I know I definitely, when I start out in like a survival game, that fear is like immediately set in, like, oh my God, I have to do everything. And the one thing I need is like, I need to research a house because I have to figure out where I'm going to sleep. But having that protective shield is good. Would it be possible to start in when people have already set up on a server?
Yeah, absolutely. You can start in and there's a base built up for you, so you have a home set, but you have the opportunity to start building your own characters, your own skills, your own talents up in that safe space, at least for a while.
Is Rend like a traditional survival game where everyone's kind of like an everyman and they have to like get skills, or is there a bit more like specialized? I believe we said archetypes. Can you explain archetypes?
Yeah, so we really want to make players feel unique as they build their characters. So as they level up, they get to spend points and talents similar to what you would find in an MMO. There's 4 different archetypes to spend your points in to help you, different ways of doing combat, gathering, things like that. On top of that, there's a skill system. So you fire a crossbow, you chop a tree, that'll fill up a bar and give you more perks you can spend that way. So there's lots of ways to make yourself stand out from everyone else.
So speaking of crossbows, is the weaponry in Rend going to be, because I know it's based on Norse mythology, is it like melee or is it range or is it a combination?
It's mostly range combat. It plays like a very tight, twitchy FPS. So, it should be very familiar for most players.
That's awesome. I don't think I've really played a survival game that had just largely FPS-based shooting, so that's really cool. So I know there's 3 factions, and I'm sure in the footage people will see like there's a large tree, but you really don't get the scale of the map. How big would you say the map?
The map is pretty large. It's basically a triangle with a faction base at each point, and then the big world tree right there in the middle. If you were to just up and run from one faction base to another, it takes about half an hour. But we put in teleporters and things like that to help people get around. So we want players to run into each other. We don't want it to be an empty wasteland.
Have you ever seen in the alpha that you have or the upcoming alpha or the internal? Have people built like outposts by portals to protect their own portals so that people don't go in without them noticing?
There's lots of strategic reasons to build your personal bases out in different places. If you're interested in gathering a bunch of materials, you want to stick your base in some place that you can build a resource extractor and it's going to get resources from that environment. Or if you're more into PvP, you might want to build your outpost more towards the other factions so you'll have a place to respawn and get back into the fight faster. Or you might want to, like you said, defensively build them in key spots so you can see other players coming by. But your personal bases aren't protected. So if you build it by a portal, it's going to be seen by a lot of people, and you're going to be constantly having to rebuild as waves of people are trying to break into your base and take what you got.
So the safety of the shield is, really nice. But I mean, can you briefly explain that? I know there's a period of time where that shield might not always be there.
Yeah, before we get the idea that we're super, hand-holdy with playing the game and have this protected area, it's only mostly protected. Twice a week there's an event called The Reckoning where those shields will come down. We're going to spawn a bunch of big bad dudes to come test your defenses, and then your shields are down for a few hours while they recharge, and that's when other players are going to come attack because they're going to want everything you got and you want everything they got. But it's a scheduled event. You know it's going to happen. You can be online for it. And so you get these awesome 20-on-20 siege fights where you're manning the walls, firing down at them, and they're firing catapults and crossbows and all whatever else that you explosions. And you get this really cool war moment that survival games sometimes deliver. We're guaranteeing you can experience it twice a week.
That's awesome. So, the world tree in the center, it has you could clearly see there's a bar there. So what is the purpose of the bar and the world tree?
So as players are out exploring the world, they're going to come across these lost souls. And the purpose of the game is to collect those, bring them back to your base, and you store them in the divinity seed in the center of your base, which, of course, is unprotected during the reckoning. So players can come in and blow that up and pop your souls out, and they're grabbing them, taking them back to their base. So it's kind of this cutthroat fight to fill up your divinity seed. Now the world tree in the middle actually functions as a scoreboard. So as you start collecting more souls, you see the runic patterns on it start filling up in your color, and you can go around to other sides of the tree and see the other faction scores. But the reality is, once somebody hits the top, that's it. Game's over. They won, and let's wipe everything, start over, and do it again next time.
So what happens for the faction that wins? I mean, this is obviously Norse-based. I'm assuming that we fight to get to Valhalla. But why would anyone want to strive for that victory other than the pride of victory in itself?
Well, that's enough for most people, but we decided to put on a little layer of meta progression on top of it. So after the match, you start getting these points that you can spend towards permanent improvements to your future characters. We want to stay away from things like just raw power. We shouldn't be better than somebody else in a fight just because you've been playing longer. But we want to give you more options so you can build your character in more interesting ways, give yourself a little more flexibility, and maybe something to show off, right? Use some awesome aesthetic things that say, look, I'm a veteran, I've been around for a while, I've won a bunch of games, that type of stuff.
Be a giant glowing marker that's halfway across the screen. But I guess that would also kind of paint a target on you, because everyone knows that if you're not going for raw power, everyone knows, like, oh man, this guy's won a whole bunch of times. Maybe we should take him out of the fight early. Is that something you think people will do?
Fame has its price, but we like to put things that have both a kiss and a curse, right? Maybe it's something that's really powerful, short-term type of thing, but like you said, it attracts a lot of attention. You can get all the best stuff in the game and become the biggest, baddest player in the world, but all you've done is make yourself a raid boss. Someone's going to figure out how to kill you and take all your stuff. So it's fun for everybody.
That's awesome. So where can someone find Rend if they want to look more into it, and when do you feel like people will be able to get their hands on it?
You can go sign up for Alpha at rendgame.com. Alpha should be going live in the next few weeks. It's right around the corner. We'll be sending out thousands of invites shortly. And then you can look for us on Steam. We'll be out later this year.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. This has been Cengiz from Geekade. Stay tuned for more PAX East coverage.